Vince McMahon, it has been said, has always rejected the idea of a WarGames match being on a major WWE pay-per-view. I think tonight proved that Vince McMahon is a fucking idiot. What a show. Great stuff. Excellent main event. I thoroughly enjoyed WarGames tonight from the WWE. The Bloodline and Brawling Brutes, Owens and McIntyre match was all kinds of fun. Great storytelling. The Sami Zayn, Roman, Jey Uso dynamic from last night carrying into the pay-per-view tonight and then into the match and resolving itself into the match, ending with a couple of hugs that even for heels, I think you had fans in the audience and fans at home that actually got goosebumps over the Sami and Jey hug and the Sami and Roman hug. Sami Zayn proving himself to the Bloodline tonight, much to the delight of Greg, because I did not do that great in my predictions, but I did get the two WarGames matches right. I think I got everything wrong in between, but I got the two WarGames matches right with the women's and the men's. I was not ready to see Sami Zayn get kicked out of the Bloodline just yet, and based on what we saw last night on SmackDown, I was feeling pretty good about my prediction today because I thought that they were telegraphing it way too much last night with Sami Zayn getting caught in the lie and all that stuff. I'm like, they're just teasing you that they're going to do the turn tomorrow. They're not going to do it. I actually thought Sami Zayn would get the pin tonight. I thought he would win the match for his team. He didn't get the pin, but he played a pivotal role. Just like I said yesterday in the predictions, he's going to be involved in the finish. Whether the Bloodline lose or win, it's going to have Sami Zayn centered around all of it. And it was with the low blow and the haluva kick to Kevin Owens, allowing Jey to go to the top rope, hit the frog splash for the win and the pin. And he gets the big hug from his family members, and we get to stretch out this beautiful Sami Zayn and Bloodline relationship just a little bit longer, which is what I was pitching in my last couple of episodes, because we are coming up on the holiday season. We just had Thanksgiving here in the States. Now it's Christmas time. It's Christmas trees, it's Santa, it's presents, it's jingle all the fucking way, it's giving gifts, it's love, it's family. You cannot have Sami Zayn get kicked out of the Bloodline right now, not right before the holidays, because I think Sami Zayn being a member of the Bloodline during the holidays is going to make for some spectacular TV segments, especially when you think about the type of gifts he could potentially give or receive from the Bloodline. I think all that's going to be all kinds of fun. And then when we get into 2023, we can start talking about the split for real, because you still know, even based on what we saw tonight with Sami Zayn sticking with the Bloodline and everything working out for them, it's not going to work out forever. Eventually, this thing is going to have to implode. Eventually, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are going to have to team up and target the Usos for those tag team titles. You know that's going to happen. I'm just glad it hasn't happened yet. I'm willing to wait, and I'm glad that we're going to be waiting probably at least until 2023, unless they try to close out the year with some sort of a big turn or a big swerve or whatever. I know, I think like the last Raw of the year, that year that Daniel Bryan went heel and like joined the Wyatt family, he finally turned face like in the last Raw of that year before heading into the new year. So maybe they could do something at the end, but I definitely am happy that Sami Zayn will be sticking with the Bloodline probably at least for the next several weeks at the minimum. And then we have Royal Rumble coming up, and then you can do all sorts of shit in the Rumble as well. Who knows what you can even do there, but that's looking way ahead. We got to talk about Survivor Series first. WarGames finally making it to a big, major, main roster WWE pay-per-view after some trial runs in NXT that went marvelously. I actually attended one of those. I attended WarGames like 4 years ago in 2018, and they were great. And WWE and Triple H has always been a fan. Triple H, I should say, has been a fan of the concept and trying to get it into WWE. Now that Vince is gone, he's got free reign to stick this thing right on Survivor Series, which is a perfect place for it because Survivor Series is pointless. The past few years, they've been doing this ridiculous brand supremacy crap, which means nothing when everybody's just switching brands all the time anyway. There's no reason, if you're a wrestler, to fight for your fucking show. It's stupid. And we've been wasting our time with this nonsense for years because of Vince McMahon's just one-dimensional fucking thinking. So now we finally have WarGames on the main roster, on a main pay-per-view, and I was really hoping, I thought it was really important that they delivered tonight, that those matches delivered. That way it can keep the fans looking forward to this every single year. And I think this was a very good first run for WarGames on the main roster. A lot of big-name players in this. The women's match was stacked with some big ones. You had Becky, you had Bayley, you had Rhea, you had Bianca. Star-studded women's match. And then, of course, the main event was all kinds of great with the Bloodline and the Brawling Brutes and Kevin Owens and Drew. Loved the storytelling with Owens and Sami and the Bloodline. Like I said, that stuff is just getting going. There's going to be so much more to chew on there. So much more meat on that bone. It's going to be super fun to watch all that play out as the weeks and days go on. But anyway, I want to hear what you guys had to think about the show tonight. If you guys agree with me, I've got my own closed captions turned on for some reason. If you guys agree with me on the show, give me your letter grades, A, B, C, or D. Give me your number grades, 1 through 10 or 0 through 10, whatever you think. And I would like to hear what you guys have to say. I'll cruise over here to the chat, say hello to you guys as we're all kind of gathering in. First and foremost, thumbs up button. You see it? See it right there? It's right there. Smash it so hard. Smash it till your finger breaks. Please hook me up with a like. I would definitely appreciate that. If you are not a subscriber, you can do that too. That subscribe button's right down there too. It takes one finger. Click the subscribe button, and if you want to go hardcore, you can join and become a family member. Join button is below this video. Link to join is in the description as well if you would like to support. But good to see you guys here on this wonderful Saturday evening, holiday weekend here in the States. Good to see Survivor Series back linked up again with Thanksgiving for the first time in God knows how long, because they used to do it Thanksgiving night, then Thanksgiving Eve, and then it kind of just evaporated into a normal November pay-per-view. And generally, WWE does not run Survivor Series on Thanksgiving weekend. Back in the pay-per-view days, they probably figured that holding it there would cost them pay-per-view buys because a lot of people are traveling and moving around for the holiday weekend. It's just not a good weekend to have a pay-per-view on. But now that everything's on Peacock, really doesn't matter. And now we can actually have some pay-per-views maybe on Thanksgiving weekend. And I'm all about that. So I was happy with the show's placement. Glad it was on a Saturday night. Cool to have it associated with Thanksgiving again. And yeah, all these years I watched Survivor Series from the very first one. I've got some pretty gnarly memories of the first Survivor Series, actually. And it's been a big deal in my life ever since 1987. So here we are in 2022, still kicking 35 years of these damn things, or however many years it has been now. I've lost track. It's been a lot of Survivor Series, and really fun to see Dusty's old concept and to see WWE kind of adopting that officially now. And you got Cody in the company, and it finally feels like, WWE's got their grasp on Dusty back. It felt like they lost it for a little while when Cody left. And now with WarGames coming back, shout out to KO's shirt, beautiful shirt that he wore to the ring tonight, tributing Dusty Rhodes as well. And as a wrestling fan who had my very, very first ever, a lot of you know this, my very first memory, the very first image that I have in wrestling is of the match between superstar Billy Graham and Dusty Rhodes. So Dusty was like the first wrestler my little 4-year-old body ever laid its eyes on before. So to see this match concept here in 2022, all these years later, 40 years later, is pretty cool for a fan like me. So tonight was fun wrestling by the WWE, good stuff all the way through. And we did get a title change, but not the title change that I thought. I was way wrong about one of these matches, and we will talk about that. Let's say hello to everybody. Zach Powell getting in the house. Michael Kumo, good to see some channel members in here as well. Nikita Abalakin, member for 3 months. Damn, that was an emotional ending. Jay and Sami hug. That was great. Jimmy Anderson, appreciate that nice super chat from all the way across the globe. I honestly thought Sami was going to fall out of the cell door when Sheamus pulled it and cost the Bloodline. I was wrong. This great story continues. I must have missed that spot about halfway through the match when the guys were kind of still entering the ring. When we were going through those 5-minute intervals, I started prepping for the stream, getting my lights on and doing shit, trying to eyeball the match, but I didn't really write down any notes until everybody was in there. So I might have missed a couple of things, but I missed that spot. But there was a lot that I was looking for. I was looking for some of the subtleties and just to see if you could pick out anything that might happen or get an idea of where they're going based on the body language of Sami Zayn or Roman or the opponents or whatever. I was looking for all sorts of clues, and I just knew that whatever they did at the end was probably going to be pretty fun. Good to see Nick Musser in here as well. Zane G, all sorts of family members in here. Tatanani is here as well. A good show tonight. I agree. Stone Cold 10X. Appreciate that $5, dude. Good job for both main roster WarGames matches. Solid show. I agree. Solid show. Very solid show. Jay Lambo is here. Colin Norman Wright, Big J, Crazy 26, JL, Vash Starwind, Ajax Johnson, Chaz Medeiros. Good to see you as well. Channel member Deshaun Robinson. Also more family members in here. Along with David Brown is here. Good to see you. I agree. Great show tonight. Stephen Harris. Nice to see you. Super Fluffy Toaster is in the house as well. Oh, Lord. I've lost my spot. There we are. Super Fluffy Toaster. I see you. We've got Spider, Al Ramos, sir. What do we call you now? Spid XR AR? What can I call you for short? Good to see you, my friend. I guess I'll just call you Al. You can call me. Never mind. I won't sing. Chris Ludek, good to see you. Thanks for the $5 from you as well. Greg, hope you're doing well. Again, sorry about the accident. Buy or sell, Brett and Bulldog's hug at SummerSlam or Sami and Jay tonight? Sami and Jay by a mile. Oh my God. I loved Brett and Bulldog's hug, but that was so 92 babyface-ish and sappy and shit. Jay and Sami is much more fun because there's so much more turmoil there. You know, Brett and Bulldog was kind of a temporary family feud there. They didn't acknowledge that the two of them had history when it was the Hearts versus the Bulldogs and the tag teams. But then when they were both baby faces, they tied all that in. But they didn't have any animosity other than a little bit that was drummed up because of the match, where Sami and Jay have so much deeper issues because Sami's horning in on Jay's family, and, you know, it's all very deeply personal to Jay. And I just don't know if Brett and Bulldog's hug touched me as much as Sami and Jay's hug did tonight. And that's coming from the biggest Bret Hart fan in the world. I think the hug that Owen, Davey, and Brett had in 97, that one I think was better than what happened at 92. But Sami and Jay leaping into each other's arms was a sight to behold. Oh, wow. So good. So good. Latrey White, they really never going to end this bloodline. I don't know why everybody thinks that. Patience, my friend. Patience. Everybody thinks that if they win, it's never going to end. It's the reason they keep going is because it's white fucking hot. It's super over. It's the most interesting angle they have. And the bloodline is fantastic. And I don't know why fans have things against longevity. Why does everything have to change so quickly today? You know, like, I'm totally fine. I can sit back and relax on the bloodline for a fucking year or more. I don't care. I'm in no rush to see this thing broken up. When it gets stale, you will know it. And I don't think they're anywhere close. They're not even in the same universe as being stale yet. They got a long way to go before they start wearing out their welcome. But I think WrestleMania coming up on the horizon, we're definitely going to see an implosion with Sami Zayn. The bloodline itself, Roman and his family, you don't break blood. So their relationship, even if they go separate ways in the future, is really never going to die. But the Sami Zayn portion of the bloodline, yeah, that is going to implode. And Latrey, I think we would have already seen it implode by now, but because of how over it's gotten, because of how the fans have been reacting to it and the work of Sami Zayn and the whole damn crew of guys there, they're extending this because it's over. That's what you do. So I guess some people just get impatient quicker than others. I have got the patience, more patience than any wrestling fan walking this earth. And I'll do the Pepsi challenge with anybody out there because I don't give a shit about any of this stuff. Somebody wants to be a champion for 5 years, go ahead. I'm not going to bitch about it. We got 15,000 fucking world championships floating around the wrestling universe out here. It's cool if one of them is just held hostage for a little while. It's not the end of the world. So didn't mean to go off on a rant there, Mr. White, but I don't see the problem with prolonging this at all. Only when the fans are really hating it, they're booing out of the building. You hear crickets and tumbleweeds going by. The promos by Sami and Jay and Roman are falling on deaf ears. The fans don't give a shit. When all that starts happening and the bloodline is still winning, then we can start talking about it being ridiculous, but not yet. George Morris, happy to see you, my friend. Thanks for the $5. Hey, Greg, how are you doing? And how are your cats? Survivor Series, 0 out of 10. How about for a watch-along, Starcade, 93, 94, 96, 98, or Armageddon, 99 or 2000? Didn't we do an Armageddon? I thought we might have done 2000. I don't remember. I think I'm going to put up a poll for the members this week. A week from tomorrow, we'll be back doing watch-alongs. We will not be doing a watch-along tomorrow because I have to be at work. Survivor Series kind of goofed up my weekend schedule there, but we'll be back next week for a watch-along. And I know one of the ones on the list that we're going to put on the poll is 97. A lot of people have been recommending 97, so that's at least going to go on the poll, and I'm going to let George and the rest of the channel members decide which one we're going to do. I'll definitely throw maybe 93 and 94 on there. I think we did 98. We did 98, George. We did that one last year. So maybe I'll put 93, 94, 96, and 97 on the poll and see what you guys think. All right, Vash. Chris Barrera, good to see you, kayfabe brother. The main event was really, really great. 8 out of 10, in your opinion. I agree. Ajax, I think I got you earlier. Deshaun Robinson, appreciate that $5 from you as well. Since fall of 2020, this Roman bloodline storyline is hands down the greatest thing in wrestling today. Jay still playing a pivotal role in this story, and that's what you have to remember. I don't sleep on Jay Uso either. He's been doing tremendous work. I know Sami Zayn has been getting a lot of the spotlight because he's so damn funny. But don't forget about all the great stuff that that Jey Uso was done. Remember when he was at odds with Roman and he had to prove himself to Roman and they were having those matches? I mean, Jey took Roman to the limit. They worked in the Hell in a Cell, didn't they? So I feel like at some point we could revisit all of that if Jey finally gets fed up. I mean, now everything's going to be, all great and hunky-dory, at least for a little while in the Bloodline. They're probably going to celebrate this Friday on SmackDown. I don't see any immediate dissension, at least this next week, but maybe after that you can start teasing some more shit or whatnot. And in the end, maybe Jey finally gets fed up and Jey leaves the Bloodline and Sami stays. There's so many different things they could do because of how important all these pieces are. And I was worried, about how Solo Sikoa would fit into the Bloodline. And he's fit perfectly. He's just so perfect. He just sits back there as the muscle and, kind of the enforcer. He's the Arn of the group. I love him. He plays his role perfectly. He's a badass. And I was worried like a new face, even though he's family, would kind of disrupt the chemistry. It hasn't at all. If anything, it's made it stronger. And Greg is Team Bloodline. That's for sure. Chris Miner, good to see you, man. Family member. Bloodline build-up for Mania is going to be special. You got that right. And that's what's going to be so fun about the Mania build. You don't know what they're going to do. You don't know who's going to win the Rumble. You don't know who Roman's going to face. You don't know how long the Sami Zayn stuff is going to continue. You don't know how long the relationship with Sami and Jey is going to remain, okay before that implodes. And same with Sami and Roman whenever they want to break them up or do it. And I wouldn't rule out even Sami Zayn. How great would it be if Sami Zayn was the one to take the title off of Roman Reigns? I would love that. There's a ton of guys in line right now. I would love to see Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins and Cody and so many others get another run with the title, but I think Sami Zayn could be a lot of fun. And as I've pitched many times in the past, I feel like you could set up a scenario like with Mick Foley and The Rock back in the day, 99, January 4th. Mankind versus the Corporation, and Mankind was once a member of the Corporation. They booted him out in favor of The Rock. He got his feelings hurt. They used him and abused him and then threw him out on his ass. And now he's a babyface. They can do the same thing to Sami in the Bloodline. And then babyface, severe underdog Sami gets a title shot against Roman on TV. Kevin Owens comes down to the ring instead of instead of Austin, and hits Roman in the head with a chair instead of hitting The Rock in the head with a chair. Sami Zayn covers Roman, gets the win, and instead of Vince McMahon freaking out with Vince giving him the finger, it's Paul Heyman freaking out with Owens giving him the finger. You can set the whole damn thing up the same way. It would be so beautiful. I know they're not going to totally do a rehash of that identically, but you could at least put something similar like that together. So I would love to see Sami even be talked about and be in the conversation to take the title off of Roman Reigns. I think it would be fun. I'm open to anything at this point because of how good all of this is. I mean, whatever scenario they decide to go with in terms of taking Roman into the Rumble and into WrestleMania, I'm actually cool with whoever he drops the belt to, if he even drops the belt. Who knows? He might be facing The Rock. He might drop the belt at the Royal Rumble and go into the WrestleMania match with The Rock beltless. We don't know what the hell they're going to do. There's like 9 situations that could be outlined for Roman Reigns. And we don't know what direction they're going to go in yet. And I don't think anything is obvious yet. So if anybody in the comments is going, it's pretty obvious that Roman's going to do this, nothing is obvious. Not one goddamn thing is obvious yet in this whole situation because there's just too many unanswered questions, Stone Cold 10X, appreciate 5 more from you. Who nearly cried when Roman hugged Sami at the end? It was just you. It was not just you. I did that as well. Mike Witt, they made KO. Of course, you're going to complain. They made KO look so weak. If my best friend did that to me, I would break him in half. No, you wouldn't. If your best friend kicked you in the balls, you wouldn't be breaking shit in half. You'd be placing your nuts back together. You'd be gluing them. If anything's broken, it's your balls. Have you ever been kicked in the nuts? Like for real? Have you ever been kicked in the nuts? You ain't doing anything for several minutes. I promise you. No. If Kevin Owens was able to shake off that low blow, that means he has no balls. So I don't think that made Kevin look weak at all. You can hit any guy, no matter how big he is, with a low blow. It's going to take you down. And if you don't think it is, then I don't think you have the proper equipment down there. I'm just saying. Delay. They should have had someone take the title from Roman at 39 at this point because it'd be crazy for them to let Hellman 3 years. Yeah. No, I disagree. You guys, I think delay is just, you have the common opinion. I'm the one in the minority here. Like when I say I disagree, you're actually in the majority. Everybody thinks like you. I just don't. I don't understand why fans don't have patience. What is it about you guys that makes you void of any sort of patience and being able to watch something play out and have fun with it, especially when the wrestling landscape is so big? It'd be one thing if this is one wrestling company with one 1-hour show per week, okay? But this is the WWE with 7+ hours of brand new content weekly. You got a competitor out there doing 4 or 5 hours of brand spanking new TV per week. You got championship belts all over the place. You have more wrestling than you know what to do with. Why is it so out of the question for like one storyline or one champion to have a long run and to do something that hasn't really been done since the 80s? I mean, Hogan held the title for 4 years. Backlund held the title for 4 years. Bruno for 8. I think Superstar held it for two or 3. These are long runs. Pedro held it for 4. So long runs should not be rejected so strongly by the audience. I just don't get it. It's where we differ. There's definitely a generational gap there between me and a lot of fans because I just don't think that way. But many do. So I guess I'm the weirdo. So I'm not criticizing you. I'm admitting that I'm the weirdo. Colin Norman Wright, it's good to see you as well. What if Sami and Kevin are working together to finally gain the trust of Jay, which gets heat off of him, just to turn on the bloodline? I would like that idea, but I don't think you would have done what you did here. I know in the past when wrestlers have been in cahoots, they have taken abuse or punishment from each other to help further the ruse. But in a WarGames match with so many other guys depending on you, for Sami and Kevin to pull off this ruse to fool the bloodline way in the future, I think that would be like disrespectful to Kevin Owens' team. And plus, Kevin would have to be willing to take a low blow. He would have to be willing to eat a low blow to make it look as good as possible. I don't see it going that way because of tonight. Maybe prior to tonight, if you laid something like this out. But you got to remember too, so far, Sami has not, other than Jey Uso, Sami hasn't gotten any indication from the bloodline that he is in trouble. Yes, he's terrified of Roman Reigns and he's, kisses his ass at every opportunity, but Roman has been pretty cool to Jey. He's made him an honorary Us. He seems to prefer him over Jey Uso, and Roman has treated Sami very well. It's not like Sami's on super thin ice. It's not like Roman has been overly abusive to him every week, where Kevin Owens is saying, aren't you getting sick of this? Aren't you getting sick of this guy shitting on you, yelling at you, making you feel like a piece of crap every day? Let's get back at them. So far, I think Sami is still, he still desires the approval of Roman Reigns. He doesn't want to turn on him. I don't think it's going to be until Sami is done wrong in some way or whatever. But I would like it if there was some big master plan there against the bloodline. But based on what we saw tonight, I don't feel like that's the case. But I could be wrong. Chris Miner, appreciate $2 from you. Hopefully we get Survivor Series Punjabi Prison. You are blocked. We're finally getting in some of these grades now. We got B, 6 out of 7 out of 10. C from delay. I've seen some C's. I'll live with C. I think I'm going to go B. I'll go like solid B on this show. But I don't think I'd go as low as C, but I don't think I'm going to give it an A either. 10 out of 10 from Austin. Profess the Film gives it an A. Lots of A's. That's not bad. Right on. Isaac, good to see you. I'm not sure if I got you earlier as well. Max Pokebra, good to see you. Let's see, who else is here? Lionel, how are you? Good evening to you as well. Victor Cologne's in the house. Right on. I'm still scrolling through all of these chats here, and then we'll start getting into the results here in a second. Max Pokebra, appreciate the $5 from you earlier. Sami Zayn becomes Sami Uso on SmackDown as a reward. That's interesting because remember when Roman told Sami and Jay in the promo or whatever, and he threatened Jay like, I'm going to make him an Us. And Jay was just disgusted at that prospect that Roman would make him an actual Uso or give him the name or whatever. So now Jay might be on board with that. Jay might be a part of that celebration. There might be this big coronation for Sami Zayn to legally change him to Sami Uso or Sami Us or something. I don't think Sami Reigns. But I can see them doing some sort of a segment, the ultimate, the ultimate honor for the bloodline member, because up until this point, Sami, even though he hasn't been necessarily abused by Roman Reigns, he's been the lackey. He's been the lackey of the Bloodline. He's been the satellite member of the Bloodline. He's been a lot like Pillman in the Hart Foundation. Not totally in there, but he wants to be there. He could finally be accepted in with open arms now on Friday. I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen at all. So if it's not getting the name, it's getting recognition as the true member of the Bloodline. Yeah, I'm into that. Totally. How wheezy. I agree, man. Solo fits like a glove. Sami is a dark horse to win the Rumble. I like it. Let's see, where did I leave it up? I keep losing my spot. Here we go. There we go. We're back. Yeah, I thought about that possibility too, Victor. Victor says, why not have Roman win the Rumble and have him choose his opponent at WrestleMania? Didn't Brock try to do that? Didn't Brock come in and enter the Rumble as champion? That was the year that Drew kicked him out, right? So Roman could kind of do that as well if he wanted, but they've already done that with Brock, and I think it would be fun to have Roman defend the title at the Royal Rumble against potentially Sheamus or even Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens or Sheamus. I feel like Sheamus would work. Sheamus would be a lot of fun, but so would Kevin Owens, and that would just add much more dynamic, putting Sami Zayn in another situation where he has to prove himself to the Bloodline. And I don't know if he, how long they'd be. That might be finally where it all ends for him. And what an opportunity, right? Because we just don't know what they're doing yet. But if The Rock were to come in and they decided, I personally don't believe it's another thing that I differ with on the fans. Most fans, I think they like to say this more than they actually mean it, but everybody says Roman and The Rock don't need the titles. I completely disagree with that. I don't know why everybody thinks that. They can wrestle without the title, sure, but this idea that they don't need it and it would be stupid for it to be the title for the titles, I'm like, why would it be stupid? I think it would be fucking awesome. So I would have no problem at all if The Rock and Roman Reigns was for the title. But I would also have no problem if it wasn't. So if they did get the belt off of Roman at the Royal Rumble, you could have Sami screw him either on purpose or accidentally and give Owens the title. But I still like the idea of Owens and Sami taking the tag team championships off of the Usos. That means the Usos run is going to last probably a few more months, maybe even until WrestleMania. And you do the big match where Owens and Sami Zayn win the titles. Maybe even Roman drops his belt. Could you imagine that? The entire Bloodline crumbles at WrestleMania. The Roman Empire falls at WrestleMania. Everybody loses. He sticks solo in a match too. Make him lose. Usos drop their titles. Roman drops their titles. And then the Bloodline has to regroup and try to figure out what's next in their lives. That could be pretty good storytelling for WrestleMania as well. So WrestleMania is going to be fun this year because you just don't know what they're going to do. And I bet you behind the scenes in WWE, they don't have a whole heck of a lot of an idea what they're going to do either. I wouldn't be surprised. Not sure yet. $5 more from Victor Colon. I agree with you. Keep the belt on Roman. It's working. The Bloodline is working. Have Roman win the Rumble as champion and let him choose his opponent. Man, I don't know if I like the idea of having Roman win the Rumble and choose his opponent. It could work. I like the idea more of Roman defending the title, but I feel like they did it with Brock because Brock was literally out of opponents. I don't know if Roman's necessarily out of opponents yet. Even though it feels like he has beaten everybody. Bray Wyatt is out there still, don't forget. I'm surprised we actually didn't see a Bray Wyatt presence of some kind. Although, somebody mentioned, I didn't see this, but apparently after the women's WarGames match, Alexa Bliss didn't apparently look too happy, so maybe that's just more subtle teasing of whatever the hell she's going to wind up doing as it relates to Bray in the future. I don't know. But yeah, I'm cool with the belt being on Roman for as long as they want it to be. I don't give a shit at all. But I don't know if I want him in the Rumble and winning it. That is where I think, how I've been disagreeing with a lot of fans who are starting to get frustrated with Roman. I'm like, oh my God, chill out. This is great. This is great stuff. If they did something like that, that's where I could see the frustration maybe boiling over. Okay, now they're getting ridiculous with Roman. He wins every time. He always wins. Everybody gets so mad when people win all the time. Shayna Baszler went through the same thing in NXT. Every time she was in a match, she could be in a four-way with four random women, no story, no nothing. She's had this long run, and fans are like, this is where they should take it off of her. I'm like, no, that's not where they should take it off of her. This would be a stupid place to take the belt off of Shayna Baszler. You just want it off of her because you, personally, are annoyed with it. And that's not really how life works. Things aren't going to revolve around what you're personally annoyed with. So with Roman, I think if he went into the Rumble as champion and won it, fans would be like, all right, that's enough. So that might be a little bit too much for them to handle, and I might not even blame them. So I would tread carefully with Roman. The reason I have no issue with Roman being champion right now, because everything he does is entertaining to me. He is a star. He's a bona fide megastar, the biggest star easily in this business right now. Possibly is going to go on to even exceed Cena, in terms of what he accomplished in wrestling when it's all said and done. So I think as long as I'm entertained by what Roman is doing, then I don't see any reason to stop it. And the fans seem to be entertained by what he's doing as well. They're running with him. More C's and B's coming in. That's cool. 8 out of 10. I agree. Spectra chiming in with $5. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for that. Hey, Greg, just hopped in. Didn't watch the show. How was it? I know there's a change in management, but I still can't pass my bitterness for WWE. Tonight would have been fun. You would have liked it. It was a really good show, as we're going to be talking about it here. But I don't blame anybody who still holds a little bit of contempt for WWE. I get it totally. All right, let's see where we at here. Can't wait to attend SmackDown this coming Friday, Zach. Right on. We will be getting into these these WarGames results, but it was only a 5-match card, and we're probably going to blow through the results relatively quick, so that's why we're shooting the shit and just kind of talking about the show in generalities for a couple of minutes before we get into it. K-Dog's Kennel is here as well. So is Victor Colon, Damon Smith, Daniel Ruffle, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Alex Bryant, Enigma 47. Roderick is in the house as well. I hope I got all the shout outs and the super chats, at least for right now. Please do me a favor. Continue to smash that thumbs up button for me, and I would appreciate it. And I guess we can start getting into these results. So we had the typical 1 hour long pre-show tonight. No matches on there. They haven't done pre-show matches in quite some time. I can't remember the last time we had pre-show or kickoff matches, but we did get a Charlotte video package on the pre-show, and they had video packages for a lot of stars throughout this thing. That seems to be a new trend with WWE. It seems like they're purposely having less matches on the show to make room for these video packages. I know some people are watching commercials when they're running these superstar packages, but they're dumb and completely useless to me. I don't need them at all. I don't need a fucking emotional 3-minute thing on Liv Morgan. Don't give a fuck. So none of this means anything to me, but we had these things sprinkled out throughout the whole show tonight, and we had a Charlotte one on the pre-show, and you guys know I have been I was pitching Charlotte showing up tonight and potentially helping Shotzi win the championship from Ronda Rousey. That did not happen, but we did get the Charlotte package. And during the pre-show, Triple H tweets out a video montage of William Regal saying WarGames, 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 which was pretty crazy. I like that he did that because there were actually some rumors surrounding William Regal this week as it relates to his AEW status and his AEW future. And many people wonder that when his deal with AEW is up, now that Triple H is in charge, and there's a shit ton of history between Triple H and Regal, they go way back, that Regal would probably have a job for life in WWE if he chose to go back. So Triple H tweeting that was awesome and kind of interesting. But the main card opened up with the Women's War Games match. I figured these things would bookend the show because there's only 5 matches. So you're not going to lower the cage and set it all up and just pull it up, put it down for one more match, and then put it back on again. So I thought they would probably bookend the show. The women were up first, and this was a pretty good one. Now, a couple of changes that I've noticed to the War Games this year. I don't remember what happened. I don't even think I saw last year's, if they even did one, in the horny splashy paint. And I don't recall at all what they did during the pandemic with the War Games, but it seemed like they made one change to the holding cages. Now, years ago in NXT, I used to always laugh at how stupid it was that they were all in this like holding cage, because the original War Games, it wasn't like that. I think you had two entrances to the cage, one on each side, and the teams just stood outside the door. You didn't need a holding pen like they're fucking animals. So it was like unnecessary drama that we didn't need. That's why I hate the Elimination Chamber, because every time it's time for somebody else to enter, the lights have to go down, and we have to have that fucking Price is Right looking lights going around like it's a damn game show, and then the pod opens up and they come out. It's just so dramatic, and it's just nothing. I just don't need that shit. So I always thought the holding cages were dumb, but what made them really dumb is that in the first few years, the cages were just the frame of the cage, meaning they lower them and they sit right on the floor. There's no floor to the cage. And these things aren't that heavy. So you have all these wrestlers basically under this cage that's supposed to keep them contained, but there's no bottom on it, which means you could just lift it up and climb right out underneath. I just didn't understand what the point of the cage was, and to lock the door when we have four people in there who could easily lift that thing up and climb under there if you needed to get out in some way. So this year, there's a floor on the cages, which means you can't do that. I thought that was a nice addition, finally, that they thought that through, that the other way looked a little bit stupid. But this, of course, was Team Bianca, Bianca Belair, Mia Yim, Asuka, Alexa Bliss, and Becky Lynch, who was revealed last night on SmackDown as the final member of the team, taking on Damage Control, Bayley, Dakota Kai, Io Sky, Nikki Cross, and Rhea Ripley. This was a pretty fun match. Bianca and Dakota Kai started things off. I think this was Dakota's fourth, they said, WarGames match. So she's been in every one of these. We had Io Sky coming out third because the babyfaces, I believe, had the advantage because of the match last night on SmackDown. Or I'm sorry, the heels did. Excuse me. Asuka came out fourth. Nikki Cross came out fifth. And Alexa Bliss came out at number 6. Now, when Nikki came out, she introduced trash can lids and kendo sticks into the match. Tables would make their appearance later on. So would ladders. We had Nikki diving off the top of the cage onto the entire field. And Nikki was pretty interesting in this match. Most of the match, she was observing. She was sitting up at the top or sitting in the corner, watching everything and giggling her ass off the whole time. So she was kind of hurting her team, but she was also there for them at times as well. And she did do the big dive onto everybody that was pretty good. We had Bayley coming out number 7 and Mia Yim coming out 8th. And that's when we started getting tables in the ring and ladders in the ring. It was starting to get crazy. Rhea Ripley came out at number 9. And rounding out the field, Becky Lynch, the returning Becky Lynch, who looked great, by the way. Good to see her back way earlier than we had expected her to be. And she was a perfect person to have in this match because I think had she not gotten injured, this is largely similar to the match they were probably going to do the whole time. Those seeds were planted at SummerSlam. Becky and Bianca finally blew off their feud, put the past behind them, parted ways with respect and mutual respect, and that's when, Bayley, the returning Bayley, came out and brought Dakota Kai and Io Sky with her, and we had the big face-off in the brawl in the ring, and that was probably the way to start setting up what they were going to do at WarGames, but then Becky Lynch got hurt. So she was probably ruled out for WarGames for quite some time until it turned out that she was going to be available and she was going to be rehabbed and ready to go. So she did make perfect sense. I know a lot of fans wanted Sasha Banks, but I never thought it was going to be Sasha Banks. Once they said they were going to reveal the partner on SmackDown, that should have been your indicator that it was not going to be Sasha Banks because the show was in Boston tonight. If it's going to be Sasha Banks, you're saving this for Boston. You're not doing this the night before. You're doing it here at the pay-per-view. And I think the reason why they announced it on SmackDown is so the fans wouldn't boo whoever the partner was. Now, Becky, luckily, is Becky, so she's always going to get a reaction. But if they would have decided to make this person a Raquel or a returning Tegan Nox or something, and the whole entire arena is expecting Sasha Banks, and you bring Tegan Nox out there, that poor girl's going to get shit on by 20,000 people. So once they said they're going to announce it on SmackDown, I'm like, it's not going to be Sasha. And why would it be? She left with Naomi. If there was 2 spots open, then I might think it could be the both of them or something. But Sasha was never really on my radar here. Just because the show was in Boston, it's not going to change her status with the company. Whatever's going on there, it's not going to automatically just go away because they're in Boston. So I don't even know if we're going to see Sasha Banks back at this point. You'd think if we were going to see her back, we would have seen her back by now or here in Boston, or, she's going to continue doing her thing and they're going to just bring her back at the Royal Rumble along with Naomi or whatever. We don't know. There's still a lot to be resolved there, but I never thought it was going to be Sasha Banks to begin with. But once all 10 of these women got in the ring, Becky made her way in there. The match officially begins. So the bell rings. Like I said, Nikki Cross spending a lot of time on top of the cage, in the corners, laughing, giggling, acting crazy, which was pretty funny, and would kind of get involved in the action from time to time. Becky and Bayley finally had a big face-off, which was really good because they haven't seen each other since Bayley came back at SummerSlam, and then Becky got hurt, so this was a nice time for them to come back together finally. Rhea got into this altercation as well. Bayley and Becky start fighting. Rhea gets involved, and then Asuka winds up hitting Rhea with the poison mist right in the face, which was pretty good. We get a big moonsault from Io Sky from the top of the cage, and the only thing that made me mad about that was that Io Sky didn't put a trash can on her head and jump off from there like she did a couple of years ago. That was really good. That might have actually been in the pandemic era, actually, now that I think about it. That was good stuff. Nikki Cross busts out a pair of handcuffs and handcuffs Alexa. Now she's got the cuffs on Alexa. It looks like she's trying to handcuff her to something, and she's screaming at her, "You think I forgot? You think I forgot?" I'm guessing referencing their past relationship a while back when they were, I think, tag team champions and best friends, and they had the falling out and all that stuff going on between them. They both have taken strange turns in their career. They both have gone a little batshit insane, which is why I think they could come back together here potentially and be crazy together, especially if Alexa is going to be influenced in any way by what Bray Wyatt is doing. But Nikki is attempting to handcuff Alexa, I guess, to the cage or the ropes or something, and Alexa turns the tables on her and handcuffs her to herself. So Alexa and Nikki are then handcuffed together, which was kind of weird. Rhea Ripley then slammed Mia Yim through a ladder broke in half. Pretty gnarly. And then it's time for the finish. So it's kind of like a combo here thing with Bianca and Becky Lynch. Bianca picks up Bayley and basically KODs her into the cage. And Becky Lynch climbs up to the top of the cage and drops a sick leg drop off the top of the cage through a table onto Io Sky and Dakota Kai for the win. And it was a good showing for the baby faces. Bianca and Becky teaming up to take out everybody together, and they both had their moment at the end, and the baby faces won, and that was kind of what I expected. I know Damage Control has been losing a lot. A lot of people have been wondering what Damage Control is going to do from here, because every time they're in one of these situations, it seems like they lose, and a lot of people did pick Damage Control to win here tonight. But I just felt like Bloodline was too strong going into that WarGames match, and I didn't think you would have both heel teams win WarGames. I thought you'd have one heel, one babyface. So that's why I thought if any babyface team had the best chance to win, it was going to be the team with Becky Lynch on it and Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair is the top dog in the company right now in terms of the women, and Becky Lynch was. And the two of them together against the other team, I thought they were too strong. I thought even with Rhea Ripley there. And I thought they did tease a little bit of stuff with Rhea Ripley. I think she could go into WrestleMania and potentially take that championship from Bianca Belair. I kind of hope Ripley wins the Rumble. She still has some business to take care of, though. Ripley is going to have to work with Beth Phoenix. If there's a crown jewel in between now and WrestleMania, wouldn't be surprised if maybe that match happens there. But I still think Rhea and Beth have got to revisit their issue, and maybe that could happen at the Royal Rumble, and the two of them could still be in the match. Maybe even they work as singles and Beth Phoenix beats Rhea Ripley, and then Rhea Ripley wins the Royal Rumble. Then Ripley goes on to WrestleMania to beat Bianca Belair, and then the next night on Raw or after that, Rhea Ripley and Beth Phoenix have a rematch, this time for the championship, and Rhea Ripley beats her. That's what you do. That's what you do. That's what you do. By the way, you guys saw Rhea Ripley and Dominic crash the Mysterio's Thanksgiving dinner, right? Oh my God, that was so great on Thursday night. They showed up at the Mysterio's house right here in San Diego and kicked the shit out of Ray right in his den. Ah, so good. God, I love wrestling sometimes. So the babyfaces won the women's War Games match. Good stuff all the way around from the ladies. I liked it. I liked it a lot. After that, we got a Brock Lesnar video package to talk about how great Brock Lesnar was. And now it's time for Finn Balor and AJ Styles. Now, had I known about this unfortunate stat regarding AJ Styles, I would have not picked Finn Balor to win this match yesterday during the predictions video. I picked Balor to win just because I thought he would, but I did not know that AJ Styles has been winless in 3 years in one-on-one matches on pay-per-view. He's 0 for his last 10, apparently. So he is extremely overdue for a victory here. So had I known that going into this match, I had no clue about that little fun fact there. So if I knew that yesterday, I don't think I would have picked Finn Balor at all. So I'm not making excuses, but there's no way I would have picked him. Finn Balor came out ready to weld some shit. If you needed some shit welded, give your welding gun to Finn Balor. He'll take care of everything you need. I don't know what was going on with his head there. He had some headgear, some mask thing on, which I didn't hate. I didn't necessarily hate it. Gave him a dark look. I like that although I think he's been using this for a while, I do like that they've kind of slowed down his theme music and given him a new, darker, slower version of his demon theme. I like that a lot. He's wearing a welder's mask, which is fine. I don't think it looks too stupid. It definitely doesn't look as dumb as what they had Karrion Kross in. At least it wasn't a fucking Power Rangers helmet and suspenders or whatever they had going on with him. So I didn't think it was that bad, but I wasn't quite sure how I felt about it either. So, Balor is still one of my favorites. I did predict him to win here because I like Balor. I still think there's time for Balor. I don't think he's completely dead in the water yet, even though he's up there in age as well. And it seems like his opportunities have never really come to him. Maybe there's still a chance here with Triple H in charge that he can move back to the top and be a top heel in the company. AJ Styles, I got to say, finally starting to look his age. He's starting to look old, finally. I mean, this guy has been in incredible condition. He's still in great shape. He's 45 years old. He is 2 months older than me, and we're basically the same age. And so to see him finally, okay, this dude is human because he really has seemed to defy all aging. But it seems like no matter who you are, once you get to 45, it's just hard to hide it, no matter how good a shape you are in. So finally, AJ Styles, and I'm not saying he looks in bad shape at all. I'm just commenting that he looks finally his age. He looks like somebody who's in his 40s, and he really hasn't looked like that before. He's always just remained very youthful looking, not only in his physically, but what he can do athletically in the ring and stuff. He's a freak in nature. Happy to see him get the win here. This is a good match all in all, but at the end of the day, it wasn't a match that I was on the edge of my seat. It was just good wrestling slapped in the middle of this card. And it's nice to see these two wrestling again. Now, I think they've only had one other pay-per-view match, right? I think it was AJ and the Demon. Where did that take place? I don't think that was Survivor Series, was it? Was it a TLC or something? Where did AJ face Demon Balor? So I think they've only had 2 matches on pay-per-view. Both of them delivered, and AJ won here tonight with the phenomenal forearm. My only regret, and I think it was a missed opportunity here for AJ, he should have done the phenomenal forearm from the other ring. He should have jumped on those ropes, leapt over the gap between the rings, and then into the other ring to hit Balor. All Balor would have had to do was just move up about 4 feet, and AJ could easily make that jump over the ropes and nail him with it. I thought it would have looked pretty cool. Missed opportunity. Should have done that. But AJ got the win in the end. Phenomenal forearm. Dominic got chased away earlier on as well. The rest of the Judgment Day tried to get involved, but to no avail. And AJ picked up the victory. See if I can get an answer on that match. Damon Smith, Steven Larson. Shout out to Steven Larson. Good dudes, man. If you just want to hear some good, chill wrestling talk, I'm friendly with Steve. We talk every now and then. I really like their show. I mean, I don't get a chance to watch it a ton, but I really like what they have to say and their vibe a lot. So if you've never checked out Steven Larson, go check them out. Good dudes, very good dudes. They talked on their show about William Regal going back to WWE, and they said his contract ends in mid-March sometime. Yeah, I would assume that, when he came in, maybe he just has a year deal. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if he heads back. But I also think that, William Regal, there's going to be certain cases and we've talked about this before with Tony Khan, that he's going to have to judge each situation case by case, and what can be doable for one person might not be able to be doable for another. And even if I'm Tony Khan or if I'm Triple H, if I'm either one of these two guys and I have a William Regal, I have somebody with his career in wrestling, with his knowledge, with his respect, everything that he's been through, he's universally beloved. Regal's had his demons and he's had his share of troubles in life, but he's overcame all of them, and everybody in the wrestling world considers him a treasure. So if you have this person on your roster in a managerial role, it's not like he's a main star or anything like that. Yes, Regal has a big role in AEW, but he had a big role in NXT. So, it's not like the company couldn't survive without him. And if I'm either Triple H or Tony Khan, and somebody like Regal comes up to me and says, I would like out of my contract, or can I leave, or I would like to go back, and lays it all out for him honestly. Look, when my contract is up, I'm going to leave anyway. So could you do me a solid and let me go? I'm not, or whatever. I would honor that just out of respect for him. Just out of respect for a legend, somebody who's been around the block as long as him and has had the travels and the experience and the matches and the career that he has, to hold somebody of his stature hostage in a contract situation for no reason, I feel like is shitty. So Regal, to me, is somebody that wouldn't even do that. Regal has respect. If Regal's contract is really up in March, I do not see Regal bothering Tony Khan to let him out early. Regal will fulfill his commitments. Now, if Regal had signed a 4-year deal and he's regretting it, then maybe that's a conversation he needs to have with Tony Khan. But if his contract is up in March, then Regal is probably just going to happily fulfill his obligations to the company, be there for whatever they need him to do. And then when his contract is up, he's going to leave the right way, shake Tony Khan's hand, thank him for everything, wish the roster the best, and go back to the WWE, because that's the way someone like William Regal would conduct their business. But if it was a scenario where he did have more time on his contract, he got let go in that, the budget cuts of WWE with Vince there. Now that Triple H is back, not only does he see a job with WWE, he sees job security with WWE. And I think it would be really shitty for Tony Khan to deny that. And I think it would be shitty if the same scenario was presented to Triple H. If William Regal was there and he was under contract and, and he wanted to go to AEW for whatever reason, and he went to Triple H and asked for a release, I think Triple H should let him go because of who he is. This isn't going to apply to everybody, but I think there's going to be certain people that just have that name or that value to them where they should be able to do whatever they want. Jericho, in a lot of ways, I feel like is like that. This guy was a contracted AEW star, went on Broken Skull sessions and shit. So there's some guys that just operate and get to follow different rules. And I think Regal, if he did find himself in that situation, they should let him go. But if his contract is up in March, he's just going to wait that shit out. That's 4 months away. He can do that. 4 months is nothing. 4 months will be here before you know it. It's going to be warm again, springtime, Easter, fucking Mother's Day, and it'll be summer in 3 weeks. Just wait. So I think Regal can easily wait that out and wind up heading back to WWE. And you know what? I hope he does. I love him in AEW. I think he's great in AEW. I love his role with the Blackpool Combat Club and all of that. But Regal has a lot of history in WWE, and he has a lot of history with the person in charge of WWE. And in the end, in the long run for Regal, that might be the better place for him, in terms of his life and stuff. So, yeah, if Regal goes back, I'd be perfectly fine with that. And I kind of hope that he does, because next year, here, let's take a bet right now. Next year, does William Regal announce WarGames? Yes or no? I say yes. I say 1 year from now, Regal will be the one to say, WarGames. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. Lost my chat. Rhea's been hitting her squats lately. Yes, she has. That's for sure. Female WarGames match was so sloppy. I mean, wasn't that bad. I mean, you got 10 women in there fighting with chairs and tables and doing shit they're not used to doing. It's not going to be an Eddie and Kurt Angle masterpiece. It's going to be sloppy. It's going to be clunky. And there were a few missteps, but that's going to happen in WarGames matches. It's the way it is. Oh, okay. I knew it was TLC. TLC 2017, AJ versus Demon. Was that the Mumps year? What year was the Mumps? What year did the Mumps happen? That might have been it. Wasn't there a pay-per-view where somebody got the mumps and then the fucking whole roster got the mumps? What was that about? Excuse me. Yes, Nick Steele, excellent point. William Regal's son is in NXT. All the more reason for him to head back to the WE. What match was next? Oh, yeah, we had a Liv Morgan video package. Yay. Then it was time for Ronda and Shotzi. All right, it is time to find out if Greg's a genius or a dumbass. I picked Shotzi in my predictions yesterday. You know why? Because everybody picked Ronda. She was like 1,000,000 to 1 odds, or I don't know how, the opposite of 1,000,000 to 1 odds. I don't know how betting works, but she was predicted to win by a large margin. Vegas odds. Everybody's picking her. Every YouTuber who did predictions on Survivor Series picked Shotzi. Picked Ronda. I saw people on Twitter today giving out their predictions. Every single person, Ronda. And I'm like, yeah, I would have thought the same thing. But yesterday in the predictions, I'm like, that's no fun. That's no fun just to predict what everybody else is predicting. I see an opportunity here. I saw a great opportunity for WWE to bring back Charlotte and to give Shotzi kind of a short title run like Liv Morgan had, maybe just for the end of the year, during the holidays. She can come out with her belt and do Christmas shit and just be a fun champion to have for a few weeks. Still plenty of time to drop the belt back to Ronda or perhaps even to Charlotte sometime before WrestleMania, because I think Ronda and Charlotte both are going to be involved in a championship match of some kind together at WrestleMania, most likely. So it would be a great way to bring Charlotte back, since Ronda broke her arm and put her out of action. She's been due to come back anytime. Fans have been waiting to see her. I feel like she could turn up at any time. This is a big 4 pay-per-view. Since we're not going to get Sasha Banks in Boston, I think a good consolation prize, instead of giving us a Sasha return, you get a Becky and Charlotte return on the same night. I kind of saw all of those things being possible. I'm like, I could totally see them doing that. So Shotzi winning the 6-pack challenge. Everybody likes Shotzi. She's got a fun gimmick and the tank and all that shit. And I'm like, let's have some fun. Why not? Come on, Triple H, don't be boring. Everybody knows Ronda's going to win. So let's throw a curveball at him. Let's have Charlotte show up. Maybe her music hits in the middle of the match, or maybe there's a ref bump, and then Charlotte comes out and takes out Ronda, and then Shotzi covers her, wins the title. Big moment. Fans are happy. Might even be a way to help get Charlotte over as a babyface if that's what your plans are for him or for her. If WWE plans on having Charlotte be a face when she comes back, what better way to do it? Because the fans really struggle to cheer for Charlotte. So I think one way that might help that along would be for her to come out and help Shotzi win the title, shock the fans. Nobody likes Ronda. Everybody pukes at Ronda. The fans would be delighted. I think you would have a referee. If fucking Jessica Carr could go out there and beat Ronda Rousey, and the fans would love it. They're over Ronda. She's terrible. She has horrific, awkward energy. Whatever that shit she was doing last night on SmackDown with Shayna Baszler was so strange to watch. The two of them are two fucking weirdos. They suck at trash talking. They're just awkward. They don't look right, sound right, act right. Nothing they do seems natural at all together. And it seems, I love Ronda and Shayna together. I like the idea of that, but so far their promos are so bad. So when you take in all that into consideration, what way to pop a crowd? What a great way to get that Boston crowd to wake up, to give them an upset they didn't see coming. Shotzi wins the title because of the returning Charlotte getting revenge on Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey is now pissed. Shotzi can be champion through the holidays. Then at the beginning of the year, you do the return match on SmackDown, Ronda and Shotzi. Ronda beats her, wins the belt back. Charlotte wins the Rumble. And then you have the match at WrestleMania, something like that. I saw no harm in doing that. I thought it would have been a fun way to kind of wake the fans up. And plus, if Ronda, what's she going to do at the end of this year? Isn't she coming back? Didn't she come back just to kind of fulfill that original contract? Do we know any contract status on Ronda Rousey? Is she going to re-up with them and stick around? She doesn't seem like somebody who's going to be there very long. So I thought that if she was going to be done after WrestleMania, wouldn't it be cool to have her put over a couple people on the way? You know, if Shotzi would have beat her tonight, that means like when Ronda left or retired or left WWE or whatever, you've got Liv Morgan and Shotzi and a couple of other people that can say they have victories over Ronda Rousey. And that's a good thing to have on one's resume. So I thought it was all positives and no negatives, all pros and no cons here. I saw no negative or no downside to doing my scenario because Ronda, it's not like she's hurt or buried. Charlotte showed up and cheated and hit her in the face with a baseball bat or something, and Shotzi won. It's not Ronda's fault. So I felt like she could survive the loss, you know, in terms of her value on the roster, wouldn't do anything to her. So she's Ronda Rousey. She's one of the most recognizable names in the world. Having Charlotte come in, kick her ass, and have Shotzi beat her for the title isn't going to do anything to damage Ronda, and it's going to do everything to help Shotzi. So again, all pros, no cons in the mind of Greg. Maybe you guys can see some holes in this idea or these ideas, but I can't. I kind of like that idea. So I thought for sure there was a legitimate chance that was going to happen, but once Finn Balor lost, I started thinking, I'm like, you know, I'm starting to feel less and less confident about this match because then it was up next. The Ronda and Shotzi match was up next, and I'm like, well, I've got Rollins retaining in the next match. That means, you know, for Shotzi to win here, it's going to be all baby faces winning. That means the only heel that's going to win is going to be the Bloodline later. Little did I know that Austin Theory would wind up winning. I started second guessing myself. I'm like, yeah, you know, I just don't think so, you know, but the way I was rationalizing it in my mind is that why is this match even happening? This is a big four pay-per-view. It's not a throwaway pay-per-view or an in-between pay-per-view. It's not Great Balls of Fire where you can just throw this match on there, a predictable match, have Ronda tap out Shotzi, and that would be the end of it. Why did this match make the card? This is Survivor Series. This is the big four pay-per-view. A major pay-per-view. So to put this match on a major pay-per-view, they wouldn't just put a boring, predictable match on pay-per-view, a match that everybody is expecting Ronda to grab Shotzi's arm and tap her out. That's what everybody's expecting to happen. So if that's what you're going to do, then this match needs to be there purely as a buffer or a filler to allow the fans to go take a piss, or you need to do this just on TV or something. But since they were doing it at Survivor Series, made me think something had to happen. Even if Ronda won, I still thought Charlotte was going to come out or something was going to happen, especially with Raquel injured and she's not there. They were giving me all the signs here because Raquel hurt her arm or they kicked her ass or whatever. So now Shotzi doesn't have the backup that she needs because Ronda has Shayna Baszler. So I thought Charlotte could come out there and neutralize Shayna Baszler. Some fans thought that it would be a good place for Sasha Banks. I don't think she fits into that scenario at all. I think she would have fit much better in WarGames because she has history with so many women in that ring. But coming out here by herself to get involved in this, Charlotte is the person that needs to do that because Charlotte is the one with the unresolved business with Ronda Rousey. So to me, it was all there, all nice and nice. Table was set. I handed them this great idea on a platter, and I was certain they were going to do it, so everybody would give me a ton of credit online. Say, Greg, you're a fucking genius. But Greg's not a genius. They did not do my idea. This was an interesting match. It was almost comical. They had one spot where they like dove into the fans and took out a couple of plants in the front row or something, which looked weird. It was very sloppy. And remember, sloppy and botchy matches only happen in AEW. Nowhere else, just there. Not here. Nope, not in WWE. Watch Ronda and Shotzi. It's just like watching Brett and Shawn at fucking WrestleMania. It's the same thing. It's beautiful, perfect, flawless match. Come on. It wasn't that great, but it was still fun. It managed to be fun despite the fact that it made me laugh a couple of times because of how horrible it was, if that makes any sense. It was really kind of a beautiful combination of bad and good, and I thought Shotzi did put up a good fight. There was a couple of times there where she kicked out that gave me hope. See, maybe. I kept looking to the Tron. I was just waiting for that Charlotte, because I felt like if Charlotte was going to come back, the way they would bring her back is just to play her music, which I think is lazy, but it feels like it fits Charlotte's typical booking, honestly. So I felt like the way Charlotte would return here is just her music. I don't even think we would necessarily need a ref bump. That's how lazy I think WWE could be potentially. I didn't even think the ref would need to go down. I just think as soon as Ronda locked in the armbar, Charlotte's music should have hit. Ronda lets it go, immediately turns to see Charlotte come out to the stage, and Charlotte looks at her and she starts nodding, and Michael calls, "The Queen is back," and Ronda is staring at her, and then Shotzi just comes up and schoolgirls her, rolls her up from behind. 1, 2, 3. Yes, distraction roll up, I know, but still an effective distraction roll up. And Shotzi's your new champion. Charlotte's cracking up. Ronda's pissed. She's losing her mind. And now you got Charlotte and Ronda back together. You got Shotzi as champion for a little while. Explain to me the downside to that. But no, what happened was Ronda tapped out Shotzi. Armbar, Shotzi taps out. Ronda wins. No Charlotte, no Sasha, no Tegan Knox. CM Punk didn't show up. Ultimate Warrior, nobody. It was just a tap-out victory, and that was it. And Ronda is still your extremely annoying SmackDown Women's Champion. We then go backstage. Roman Reigns is talking to Sami. This was good. Now, earlier, I guess last night on SmackDown, we saw Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn talking, and Jay is listening behind the door. And then he comes out and asks Sami, "You been talking to anybody since you've been here?" And Sami's like, "No, dude, I just got here." Totally catching him in a lie. So that to me was an indicator. As soon as I saw that, that told me that Sami wasn't getting kicked out of the Bloodline. I thought 3 steps ahead there. I'm like, you know what? They're just doing this shit to make you think that there's going to be major problems with Sami. And I actually thought Sami was going to get the pin in the match. But Sami is dishonest to Jey Uso, so Jey catches him in a lie. Earlier on in the night, Jey is telling Roman this. "Man, he lied right to me. He was talking to Kevin Owens." And so Roman said, "I'll talk to Sami myself." He tells Wise Man to go summon Sami. Sami shows up. Roman tells him to sit down. These are all so good. These conferences with the tribal chief, when he has to... You have to have a come to Jesus meeting with one of his troops, or he has to have some sort of a conversation with him. The camera angle on Roman's face, combined with the person he's talking to, with Paul Heyman in the back with both belts sitting there like a statue with this sparkling gold championship belts in the back, is just the perfect little addition to that. And Sami sits down and Roman says, "Did you talk to Kevin Owens?" And Sami fesses up. He goes, I did. And he explained to Roman that the reason he lied to Jey is because Jey had a big match. It had the advantage on the line. He didn't want to throw him off or anything like that. So he chose to keep that from him for the good of the Bloodline. He had enough time to think of this excuse, and he was honest with Roman, and Roman kind of looked him in the eye and stared at him and then told him to stand up, and he goes, "Let's do this." And Roman is cool with it. And I was like, yes. So I really thought that, I never really thought that tonight was going to be the night that Sami was going to get kicked out of the Bloodline. I thought he was going to survive the whole time. So that was really fun to see. Then it's time for the United States Championship match. Oh my God. This is Seth Rollins defending his United States Championship against Bobby Lashley and Austin Theory. Austin Theory has been a changed man since that failed cash-in against this very same United States title. He's got a much different attitude, a much different look. I really liked his kind of camouflage green gear. It just looked a little bit more, a little bit more manly. That weird vest thing that he was wearing in those selfies was so douchey. And I think Austin Theory has done well. I know he's got some controversy too. I don't know the details on it, but I do see that a lot online. He does have accusations against him. Unfortunately, I'm completely illiterate to what those accusations are. I don't know. Haven't read into them. Haven't looked into them or anything. So all I can do is judge Theory for what I see on TV. And I really think he has transitioned well from this douchebag into this no-nonsense guy who can still have his arrogance and cockiness come out every now and then. It's not like it's gone. It's almost just suppressed a little bit. And now he's just much more aggressive and focused, but still kind of knows that he's hot shit at the same time. So he's done really well with it. And that's where I want to compliment Theory, because he's been given completely different marching orders, and he's done as well with those, if not better, than he did with his previous one. He was told to pivot hard there, and he did, and he's doing it well. And that tells me you have a star here who can adapt. And if you want to have a long career, you have to adapt. You have to reinvent yourself. You have to change yourself up. All the best and all the greats do that. Unless you're somebody who's just super stupidly over, like Stone Cold Steve Austin, who never has to do anything. But otherwise, you do have to change with the times, keep yourself fresh, make sure you can always connect. And so far, whenever they have given Theory something to do, he has done it pretty well. So now he's in this match. I was talking in my predictions. I said, I don't know how he almost loses here, because it seems like this new Theory is just a couple of weeks old. Are you really going to have this new Theory lose right off the bat? Granted, he's in there with two former WWE champions, two badasses, one legit badass and Bobby Lashley. So I don't know why I think that Theory can't afford a loss to Rollins and Lashley. Do you hear how ridiculous that sounds? But it's how I felt. I mean, it really is. I was like, I don't know if you want to beat Theory here. And I don't think you want to beat Lashley because he's got a match with Brock coming up. And so it feels like there's no options here. So the only option really, it felt like, was to take the belt off of Seth Rollins, but I still didn't see it happening. I predicted Seth Rollins to win in my predictions, and I'm actually really happy to be wrong. This was a pretty fun match. I mentioned in my predictions that I was hoping it would have vibes of Cena and Rollins and Lesnar from a few Royal Rumbles ago. That match I remember being pretty good, and this one was good. This was all over the place. These guys worked really well together, and I really love the finish. So we saw some good stuff early in the match. Theory went for the very same finish on Lesnar that on Lashley that Lesnar beat him with at Crown Jewel, the Brett finish, the Brett Piper finish. Pushed off the top rope into a pinning combination there on Lashley. But when he has him in that pinning combination, Seth comes off the top with a frog splash and lands on Lashley for an amazing near fall. Really good spot there. Also loved the stomp to Lashley. Seth got like a running start, launched himself off of Theory, who was like on all fours, and stomped Lashley. That was really good. And the finish, oh my God, I cannot put over this finish enough. They managed to find a way to have Theory win without cheating to where it doesn't make anybody look bad. Everybody was protected here. Nobody was knocked down a peg with how this finish went. And it wasn't your typical finish where a guy hits his finisher and then the third guy comes in and throws him out and dives on him for the pin. This was a little bit different. Rollins had Theory up in superplex position from the top, hits him with a superplex, and we know Seth likes to roll into his Falcon Arrow from there. So he hits the superplex, rolls into the Falcon Arrow, but before he can hit it, Lesnar comes in with a spear on Rollins. Theory just falls right on Rollins. It just lays on him as Lesnar, I think, just gets taken out or rolls out of the ring or something. And the referee counts 1, 2, 3, and Theory steals a win without having to cheat, without having to play any dirty tricks or anything like that. He was just right place, right time, landed right on Rollins like that following the spear and got the win. And I thought it was a great way to book this match because it gave Theory a win that now he can be proud of and brag about. Because he didn't have to take a shortcut to do it. He actually did win it completely legit, even though it was very lucky. At least it was legit. I'd rather be lucky than cheat, as long as you're legit, you know what I mean? So that was all really good. Theory now wins the very same title that he was trying to get with that briefcase. So basically, it makes the briefcase okay. Looking back, think about how everybody flipped out about the booking of that. And look at where they are right now. It only took 3 weeks for us to see what they were doing there. That's why I always tell fans, don't jump all up your ass so quickly. Just wait a second. Sometimes things are pretty cut and dry, but sometimes they're not, and sometimes you have to see how they play out. And in my mind, they wouldn't have done what they did to Theory if they didn't have some sort of a major plan. Because to have an embarrassing night like that means one of two things. They are about to take this and use it as a way to elevate you, or you failed a wellness policy test or something. Those were the only two options to me. So since we didn't get an Austin Theory suspension the next day on WWE.com, I figured this was going to be part of some sort of new direction for him because his current direction sucked. He's a douchebag. Yeah, we can see potential in Theory, but he's not being able to tap into that potential with a gimmick that's so dumb, and the cell phones and the selfies, and a lot of it was, kind of Vince McMahon driven. Triple H probably sees the same talents in Theory, but he sees it going in a different direction. And it only took me 2 weeks to care about Theory. Seeing him cut a serious promo and be more of a pro wrestler, be more of a, a focused, more aggressive guy that you can almost smell has that killer instinct and stuff, and who can also go out there and perform, and his promos are good. You can see a shell of like an early John Cena in this guy. You really can. So where you see Theory now coming out of Survivor Series with the United States champion, don't you feel a little weird for flying off the rails 3 weeks ago? And thinking WWE is just completely inept. Yes, they can be sometimes, but I kind of thought that this was very likely with Austin Theory. And now he's holding that championship that he tried to win with the briefcase, only he won it legit instead of cashing in on a weakened champion and try to win in a cheap way. He actually looks better this way. Fans thought there was no coming back from that. If he would have been successful in that cash-in and he would have won the U.S. title, it wouldn't have been as good as it would. He would be a weaker character. People thought him losing the cash-in made him weak or buried him in some way. No. If he would have been successful that night, if he would be U.S. champion right now because he cashed in on a Seth Rollins that got the shit kicked out of him or whatever, then he would be a weak champion. Now he's a much stronger champion. And if you just allow something to breathe sometimes, you can kind of see the bigger picture here. And I kind of laugh now at everybody that lost their damn mind when people that didn't even care about him, people hated Theory, complained about seeing him, get him off my TV, don't like him, all of a sudden are offended for him that he got buried by losing his briefcase. I found that to be strange. So I was more than willing to see how this played out, and I am much happier with the outcome of this than I would have been if Theory would have remained who he was and cashed in that briefcase on the secondary title and won it in a cheap way and parading it around on TV. This is way better. And like I said the other day in my predictions, I think WWE should make Theory their version of MJF. Get that dude a Burberry scarf. You know what I mean? Let's see what else is going on in the chat over here. All right. Please hit that thumbs up button if you don't mind. I would appreciate that. Yeah, the spear, man, Zach, Lashley never looks good with his spears sometimes. He delivers them weird. The spear didn't look great, but just the way it all, I suppose the execution definitely could have been a little better, but all in all, I thought the finish and how the match was booked was a really good way to make Theory look good without damaging the other two guys. So we'll see what happens next if Rollins is going to get some sort of a rematch, because you feel like he might. Lashley might want something too. We might have some sort of a run back here. I wouldn't be surprised on Raw, but I think Theory will survive that and remain champion going into 2023. And then Rollins, I don't know what he's going to do. He might feud with Theory a little bit here until then. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind to see Rollins move on to something else too. And Lashley probably building his match against Brock at the Rumble or something, I'm guessing. I don't know what's going to happen there because there are no shows scheduled for December, so it's just going to be TV as far as I know. After that was the main event, men's WarGame match, Bloodline taking on the Brawling Brutes, Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre. This one, like I said earlier, was all kinds of fun. We talked about it in the opening of the podcast here, how good this was, the amazing storytelling, all the good stuff between Sami Zayn and Jey Uso and Roman Reigns was beautiful to watch. Absolutely loved it. Everybody makes their way to the entranceway. We get in the cages. Everybody's locked away. I think Roman's even sitting in a chair in there, just chilling. You know he's coming out last. And Roman Reigns has Jey Uso start the match. Butch is going to start on the other side. Now, when Butch is coming down to the ring, this goofball Michael Cole says Butch is competing in his 4th WarGames match. Is Michael Cole high? Butch just came in May, right? Hasn't he been there like 6 months? So how has he been in 4 WarGames matches? I don't understand. Butch just got there. You just brought Butch in. What is Michael Cole talking about? Is Butch 60 years old? Was Butch in WCW back in the 80s and 90s competing in WarGames then? because otherwise I don't see how Butch could possibly be in a WarGames 4 times when you just brought him in this year. Michael Cole must be high or something. I don't know what is wrong with that man. But anyway, Jay and Butch start things out. Of course, babyfaces have the advantage per what happened on SmackDown last night. Ridge Holland comes out at number 3. He joins the fray, and now Jey Uso is down 2 guys to 1, and he's getting the shit kicked out of him by Butch and Ridge. And 5 minutes go by, and now it's time for another Bloodline member to come out. And who does Roman send out? Sami Zayn. Great stuff. Loved it. Get out there and go work with Jay. Go save Jay. Fucking Karate Kid 2. When Daniel's climbing up the pole in the storm to save the little girl, and Sato's telling Chosen, go, help him. And Chosen won't do it. So Sami looks at him and he just kind of nods, and Sami goes to the ring, and him and Jay start working together as a team because they have no choice. And this is the big test. This is to truly test Sami's loyalty here, or at least to test part of it, to see if he can actually go out there and help Jay and work side by side with Jay, considering that they are in a cage. They're fighting for survival. They may have their differences, but they got to put them aside at least for now. And they were able to do that, actually. And they were working relatively well as a team. They were all decked out in red, by the way. And Sami Zayn, he's wearing those red pants and his red shirt. He looked like he was wearing pajamas. I'm like, they should actually make Sami jammies and sell them on WWE Shop. Some sort of big onesie, or either that or like a matching pants and shirt that has some sort of Sami Zayn shit on it, and call them Sami jammies. I want a cut of that if Sami Zayn does it. But you tell me, they put Sami jammies on WWE Shop. Tell me those things won't sell off the shelves. Get on that shit, WWE. I'll buy some Sami jammies. But he did look like he was out there in his pajamas. Drew McIntyre came out at number 5. Jimmy Uso came out at number 6. Jimmy introduces the tables to the match. So now we got weapons, all sorts of shit in there now. Kevin Owens came out at number 7, followed by Solo Sikoa at number 8. So that just leaves Sheamus and Roman hanging out in the cages there. Sheamus comes out at number 9, enters the match, and then, of course, finally, Roman Reigns comes in last, number 10, slowly makes his way to the ring, enters the match, and finally the bell rings, and we're off and running here after all these guys have spent 30-plus minutes beating the hell out of each other. We have a big face-off in the ring. We've got 5 Bloodline guys on one side, and we got the 5 baby faces in the other ring, and they start coming together. Big brawl ensues. I love the big 10-man Sheamus smash. All the baby faces had Bloodline members pinned backwards over the ropes to do the big Sheamus forearms. That was really good. So we had about 50 of those going off at one time. At one point in the match, Jey Uso super kicks Sami Zayn by accident. So a little teaser there. I'm like, okay, good. That's good. I'm glad that Jey kicked him by accident. I was still convinced that everything was going to work out in the end. Pretty good looking spear from Roman Reigns into Ridge Holland through the table. And then we had a pop-up power bomb and a stunner to Roman from Kevin Owens, and this was one of my favorite parts of the match. Roman takes the pop-up first. He gets up. Boom, he eats a stunner. Kevin Owens covers him. Roman is not going to kick out of this. 1, 2, and Sami Zayn stops the count and saves Roman Reigns from Kevin Owens, which was great. Owens is looking pissed off at Sami Zayn because Owens had that match won. That would have been it. And Sami Zayn saved Roman, and better yet, he saved Roman from Owens. So after that, this was put up or shut up time for Sami Zayn. He still seems a little bit conflicted here. He gets down and he kind of starts talking to Roman, and the two of them nod or come to some sort of an understanding. Sami gets up and kneels down and bam, nails Kevin Owens with a low blow. I think he hits Owens with the low blow first. That's what it is. He hits Owens with the low blow. Owens goes down. He's kind of selling it in the corner. That's when Sami comes over. He kneels down. He's talking to Roman Reigns, and Roman's telling him something like, do it now. And Sami's like, all right. And he gets up, and Kevin Owens is selling the nut shot in the corner. Zayn backs up, and boom, haluva kick right to Kevin Owens' face. He goes down. Sami looks right over at Jey Uso, and he goes, go ahead. Jay climbs right up to the top rope, nails the splash onto Kevin Owens, hooks the leg, 1, 2, 3, Bloodline wins. Amazing moment, amazing story playing out here with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and the Bloodline. Bloodline win, and in a very touching conclusion, I can't remember which came first. I think Sami hugged Roman first. Very beautiful embrace between the two of them. And then Jey Uso leaps into Sami Zayn's arms. The two of them embrace right there in the ring. The crowd pops. The crowd pops so huge for Sami and Jay's hug. It was beautiful. It was fucking beautiful. It was so good. So that was an excellent way to end the show. The Bloodline remains intact. Sami's position in the Bloodline is stronger than ever, and he's definitely proved himself and dug his claws deeper into that Bloodline. Eventually, we know he's not going to be there forever. He will be kicked out of this group. We know that, but at least now we know that Sami Zayn gets to stick with the Bloodline throughout the holidays. I think that's very important for TV. I think Sami Zayn giving gifts and receiving gifts from the Bloodline during the holiday season could be a lot of fun. And of course, it could plant and sow more seeds of dissension in there, depending on what those gifts are. And then next year, they can pick everything back up again, where maybe Sami's position in the Bloodline isn't as strong as it was. We start having problems, more disagreements, whatever. Or, you know, if Jay and him are going to be fine going forward. But I still think the end result here, an end game, is Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens coming together to face the Usos for the tag team titles at WrestleMania. You have some time. You've got 4 months until you get there. You got all sorts of time to continue Sami in the Bloodline for a little while before the inevitable happens. And by then, Sami Zayn has now done so much wrong to Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is going to have to ask himself if he even wants to help Sami Zayn at that point. If Sami Zayn gets kicked out of the Bloodline and they throw him out on the street and he's a devastated, broken man, does Kevin Owens even want to help him? This is the guy that nutshotted me at WarGames and turned on me. I mean, not turned on me. They were friends, but they've been friends, but they are not friends currently right now. But still, you know their relationship is going to pick back up due to their history. So is Owens even going to want to do that? I feel like it's going to take some convincing. He's going to have to see Sami down on his luck. Like I envision him rejecting Sami at first. After the Bloodline kicks him out, Sami approaches Owens, and Owens is like, fuck you, dude. You had every chance to team back up with me. I tried to offer you a chance out of the Bloodline. I told you this is going to happen. Now you're going to come crawling back to me. The hell with you. Go fuck yourself or whatever. And then on TV, he continues to be abused by the Bloodline or the Usos, and he just has no help. And then finally, Kevin Owens can't take it anymore, and he comes and he helps out Sami, and they reunite or something. So I feel like it could go in that direction. We'll see. What do you guys think? KO looked weak. KO looked weak. Well, KO looked weak to you. Butcher Ridge should have eaten the pin. Jesus. Mike Witt. The thing is, you don't get it. The story is with Kevin Owens. That's who you're supposed to pin. You're looking at it too much in terms of, oh, this star shouldn't get pinned or whatever. Yes, he should. He absolutely should. This is part of it because Owens is going to be a big part of Sami Zayn's relationship with the Bloodline. That's what the story is. This entire story unfolded before our very eyes in the match. It was right there in black and white. To pin someone else would not make any sense because it doesn't fit what they've been doing the whole match. Story. That's what we were told. A story. This is part of the story. You're overlapping concern with a status of a star eating a pin loss with what's important for the story. It doesn't matter. Like, you know how WWE always say, wins and losses don't matter. This is what they're talking about. This is what they're talking about. Because if you're too concerned with wins and losses and you pin somebody else instead, sure, you could have done it that way. But the story is with Owens. Pinning him carries so much more weight with what they're doing with Sami. Pinning somebody else, sure, it could have worked. It would have been fine. But pinning Owens is what drives it home. Pinning Owens is what is going to wind up coming back in the end to play a role at some point. Owens is going to bring this up to Sami Zayn in the future. Nothing that happened here at WarGames is going to harm the plans they have for Kevin Owens. He's going to be doing what he's doing regardless of whether he took the pin here tonight or not. Even if he didn't take the pin, that wouldn't change the trajectory of where they're going with him. It's probably towards those tag team championships. I would love it to be against Roman Reigns at Royal Rumble. I still feel like it could be. I feel like it could be Owens or Sheamus. And I still think Owens can get that shot, but pinning him here is exactly what they should have done. And Kevin Owens is my favorite wrestler. Didn't I say that yesterday? I said I don't really do favorite wrestlers anymore, but if I had to pick one, I think it would be Kevin Owens for men and Asuka for women. They're literally my two favorite people like in the business, and I don't even do favorite people anymore. So Owens is my favorite guy. And so speaking from an Owens fan, even I think he should have been pinned. So come on, Mike, get with the program. Storytelling, bruh. Storytelling. It's all about the stories. Anyway, what else you all want to talk about? We don't have too many people in here right now. Would still love some thumbs ups if you don't mind. I'll answer questions. Y'all got questions? Thank you for that, Chaz. Going in there, pimping me for those likes. Oh, Jawan Hill, good point. I forgot about that. Alexa Bliss versus the power cord. Did you guys catch that? She's, when it's her turn to come to the ring, she's walking to the ring and this fucking cable gets in her way and she kind of lifts it up and she does a little funny look back at the camera. So I'm like, what the fuck was that? That was pretty funny. It was almost like a Titus O'Neil moment, except she didn't fall on her ass. She actually handled it very well and got right through there like it was no problem. Very funny. I forgot all about that. Good to see Kevin in here. Anybody else that I have missed recently? Mike Witt, I'm not mad at you. I'm trying to make you understand. I'm not upset with an opinion or whatever. But you have to if you want stories in wrestling, then that's kind of why that finish was booked that way. Now, if this was just a random match, if there was no Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens and Bloodline story, and these were just 5 fuckers in the ring, yes, pin somebody else by all means. But you had to pin Kevin here because that's the way it's got to be. Sammy Jammies, trademark, Greg Morgan. You know what? I would actually happily give that trademark to Sammy. We love Sammy. We've donated to Sammy's charity, Sammy for Syria. They bother me all the time now. They hit me up. I think we did two or three streams and we donated the super chats to them. But I get text message updates all the time. They're always hitting me up, but they are a really good cause. So maybe we'll try to do another one of these days in the future. But yeah, so if Sami Zayn wanted to take the idea of Sammy Jammies, I wouldn't even ask for any compensation. All I ask is for his friendship. That's all I want from Sammy. Hey, good point, too. Sammy didn't break up the count by hitting KO. He grabbed the referee instead. That is true. But he would hit Kevin Owens later by hitting him right in the jewels. But anyway, all right, well, nobody's really talking in here, so I'm going to go ahead and get out of here now. So I hope you guys have a good rest of your Saturday evening. Appreciate you being here. Our next planned video is going to be when? Not tomorrow. You know what? We might be up here for a Raw review. Might do a Raw review. Raws have been sucking lately. I don't want to waste my time with a Raw review to do a stream for 40 people. But if Raw sucks, but since I'm not up here tomorrow and we might get some decent fallout for Survivor Series, maybe we'll come up and do a Raw review on Monday night. That's very, very possible. But anyway, I appreciate you guys being here tonight. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. It's not even a Sunday night. Some of you don't even have to go to work tomorrow. That's great. So enjoy your Sunday off. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hope you enjoyed Survivor Series and continue to leave me your thoughts in the comments below if you're watching this video on demand. And you guys have a great rest of your night. I will talk to you very soon.